Hello and welcome to Carnegie. My name is Ludvig Svensson and I'm an equity analyst here at the bank. With me today I have Scott Flora, who is CEO of Integrum. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Ludwig. Thanks for the opportunity and appreciate it.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here. Since
Yeah.
this is our first interview, maybe you can just give a brief introduction to the company. What do you do?
So Integrum is a transformational product, in my opinion. It's one of the reasons I got involved in the company. But we make a bone-anchored orthopedic implant that restores amputees' mobility and has the potential to reduce a painful lifestyle from someone that really can't tolerate sockets, which is the traditional way of attaching a prosthetic device to an amputee's leg. And we have one in the U.S. We have an FDA approval for our femoral product, and then in Europe we have approvals for our femoral product, our tibial, our humeral product, and then we have approval for our digits for hand prosthetics. So the company has a rich history in science, a rich history in research, and we just need to now turn the light switch on to become more commercially and process focused and move out of that $100 million SEC region and grow that business more. And I think the opportunities there to do that.
Yeah. Absolutely, and last week was very eventful for you. You announced preliminary Q3 figures, a capital raise, and a strategic shift, all in one single evening. Could you just walk us through this and what it means for Integrum? Maybe you could start with the strategic shift.
Yeah, so the strategic shift of the company is really focused on being, and this is always tricky to do because you got to spend a lot of time with employees and get everybody to understand it. But we're going to focus on the U.S. and that means we're really going to try to drive that market. It's a $5 billion plus TAM. It's something we need to penetrate. If we can get to 1 to 2% penetration, that's a really large business that will throw off cash and create opportunities for other things. Doesn't mean we're going to walk away from. We have a great group of customers in Europe who are implanting. We have some distributors, and we still have a group that's focusing on that as well. But we're going to make that U.S. shift because we think if you have a first mover position with a PMA, you should take advantage of that while you have it. We have two competitors out there that are trying to work their way through a PMA. It takes a long time. Studies are difficult, so we still have, we think, a good 4 to 5 year runway to take advantage of this opportunity. I think the other. So when you say focus, well, how are you going to focus? What's different? What's different than last time? So we've got 3 levels of customers. The first level is we have 2 facilities that we work very well with that are large implanters of ours, and they've created Integrum centers of excellence around osteo integration. Our sales and marketing teams are working with them to formalize a playbook on how you go to other hospitals and create centers of excellence. We also have another layer of hospitals that we've co-defined with Hanger, our prosthetic partner in the U.S., around where they have good prosthetic clinics, and we have people that know how to do the surgery. So we're trying to get that relationship going. And then we have a third tier of customers who do osteo integration, but maybe it's not a main focus of theirs, but we're certainly going to help them. If a patient comes in and they need to do the case, we're going to help them do the case. And then the other area of focus is this. We will continue to have an intense focus. We've taken direct control of our orthopedic distributors, which we use, and that's a very cost-efficient model in the U.S. to use because we pay per click every time somebody goes in to cover a case. We pay. We don't have to put them on a salary. But we're going to hire. The big difference that the market's going to see is we currently have 2 sales reps in the U.S. that call on prosthetists, and that aftermarket care and support and service of prosthetists is critical. So we're going to expand. We're going to hire 2 right away. And we're going to do this thoughtfully as we roll out hiring people make sure that they have a return on investment, make sure that we've done the right thing, train them the right way, then hire the next one, then hire the next one. And we've taken one of our key executives and changed his role. He is a prosthetist. He will be doing focused prosthetist education with hanger prosthetists and making sure that they're trained correctly, along with their distribution partner, SPS. So it's a putting the right people in the right seats of the bus, and then getting them focused on those key activities. And it's the focus on the right orthopedic hospitals, build the playbook, partner with hanger, and then make sure that we're taking care of our customers afterwards. Now, the last piece of this is the patient. And we need to make sure that we sell the Axor device. So, when you disaggregate our inventory, we sell S1s, S2s, and then we sell Axors. Axors aren't really attached to a patient. They're bought in bulk by the prosthetist. But the Axor device has a 3-year warranty, and that's what the patient lives with. Some patients have more than one Axor. And we had to step up our service commitment to them. And we now have a service commitment where we're turning those around. So if they have a problem with an Axor, they send it to Boston for service. We turn it around in a couple of weeks versus, sending it all over the place. So we identified that as an issue with our customers, and we've addressed it aggressively. So that's the layers of focus that I think people will see a difference in. And how we're going to communicate that to investors is every quarter we're going to say, here's the KPI. Here's our key KPI is S1s, because S1 drives a patient and a customer. So we're going to tell you every quarter how, good, bad, or ugly, how we did, and that will be the key measurement that investors can look at.
Yeah, we look forward to that information as well.
Yeah.
So moving on to the capital raise, why are you raising cash now, and what will this money be used for?
So we did a capital raise. We made the decision to raise within our allotment that we could raise without having to go for a special meeting. And our thinking was, let's do enough raise and I can stretch the cash out. We're looking to try to stretch this cash out till, as long as we can through, 26 if possible. But that allows us to bring a new CEO on board, who's someone, they can come in and say, okay, I've got some cash, I've got some wiggle room, I can now build a strategy, and then I can go out to the markets and then we can see what we may need to do on a larger scale. So we thought that was the most prudent thing to do. And what happened to our cash was we sort of hit a perfect storm last January when we had raised cash and then we had a bad quarter. And it takes 3 months for us to get paid. So when you have a 3 month when you don't get paid, that all impacts your cash. And then we invested in some R&D projects. We did some other things internally, and we just got hit with cash. So we've got a tighter process around how not to let that happen again. I was just on a demand gen planning meeting this morning. We're putting some basic process in place. So we're making sure that when we spend money, it's all aligned on, it goes against the most important things. So we're building a good cash management process. We've really done a great job on collections. And some of these other far-flung distribution agreements that we've signed with places that don't pay you as fast as you want, we're going to slow those down to focus on a U.S. market that pays you faster. Because if we just drive sales and get paid, that's a great contributor to cash in this business.
Of course. And the Q3 figures, the preliminary, what are your key takeaways from this, and are you happy with the progress that you've seen in the quarter?
So I was happy. That we had U.S. growth. I mean, when you compare it to the overall growth of the previous year, we had that we had a 300,000 euro order to the Ukraine. And that's a big order. So that was hard to overcome because that was a one-off. But what I was happy with was the rebuilding of the S1s in the U.S. So every quarter since I started, we've been able to rebuild that back. We also are seeing an increase orders in Axers, which is good. And so I liked what I saw, and I had some nice S1 activity in Europe as well. And I think that what we need to do, I had an old CEO who always used to say this, but what we're trying to do is drive the car down the road and fix a fan belt at the same time. So we want to get there. We may have a tire blowout or something, but we're building business process and driving sales at the same time. So those are, those can be lumpy, but I'm happy what I'm seeing so far, and I think we'll continue to build on that.
Yeah. And can you just remind investors on how like S1 will translate into sales later on?
Exactly. Thank you. So S1 is the first implant that goes into the patient's femur. So a patient is having trouble, they don't want another socket, and a patient will come to us in 3 different ways. They'll come from a prosthetist, they'll come from another patient, or a surgeon will talk to another surgeon and say, can you do this? So, and by the way, we have internal KPIs now where we're tracking this. So that patient makes the decision, sees the orthopedic surgeon, has a scan done, and then we make sure that we've got everything right to do the surgery. They do the surgery, and then that patient goes through a healing process. And then they go and have the S2. So the S1 then drives the patient to the S2. Now, where we're different from some of the unapproved competitors is this second surgery. And we are going to be launching a marketing campaign to educate prosthetists and patients about how we're different within the next month. We do a skin flap and a revascularization of tissue when you do the S2, where the aperture comes out. Other people just leave the aperture, it's just an incision, and they just leave the skin untreated, and it just doesn't look good. It can be prone to infections, which don't get reported. And so we think we've got a better approach, and we're going to communicate that with data into the market. So that's the S2. So the S1 and the S2, those are the hospital surgical revenues. Then the patient goes back to their prosthetist, and they get fit for their new prosthetic device, and they buy an Axer, which the insurance company pays for. So Hanger will sell them an Axer device. So that's why we get that patient. Then after 3 years, the patient can, if that Axer device is, its warranty is over and we can't fix it, we retire that Axer, and then the patient can go back to insurance and get another Axer.
Right. So that's sort of a recurring revenue probably as well.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Great, Scott. Lastly, as we move into 2025, what are the key events that you look forward to?
So the first key event is my continued help and the board's focus on hiring a full-time CEO. And we think somebody that can lead this business for the next 5 to 6 years is critical, and somebody that has a keen understanding of the U.S. market, and somebody that can take the Swedish team and the U.S. team and continue to build on forming one company that executes. So that's number one. I would say the second thing is we are going to be we're working hard on transparency with investors. I don't want to press release silly stuff, but I want to keep them educated as to what's going on. So we just hit a milestone in our business, and we're going to press release this. It's not a revenue impact, so I can talk about it. But we did our 1,000th surgery, which validates that the procedure is one that is reliable and it's got science behind it. And we're at AOPA, which is the big prosthetic convention in the U.S. this week, and we'll be talking to prosthetists at the booth, talking about other things. So those are the kind of things I want to keep investors informed on. What big events do we go to? Why are we going to those? And those types of activities. The last one is keeping them abreast of any new scientific data that we see. So that'll also be part of the transparency. And then this just continued focus on S1s. And as we build out this U.S. team, we'll announce to investors how we're doing on that building out of the U.S. team.
Great. So it sounds like there's a lot to look forward to for investors this year.
This company has a great opportunity. And I think that we just need to be really focused on rewarding investors and working with them. And we appreciate their help, but we need to execute. And that's what we're going to do.
Sounds perfect. Thank you for coming, Scott.
Okay. Thank you. It's good to see you again.